Hello everybody and welcome back to another scary Reddit reading. Today we have paranormal activity in the cemetery. We got a man who wrote fan fiction about murdering all of his friends. We have a man who swears he saw this humongous figure in the wood that he just cannot explain, and much, much more. Before my Patreon members, we got a man who chased these women in their car at the park. We got a man that left something so disgusting, so disturbing in the back of this woman's car. Oh my god, you guys. Oh my god. And then we have a grandson who truly believes his grandfather is a shapeshifter. Now, don't worry, you guys. I'm not going to take your firstborn just yet. There is a 7-day free trial on my Patreon. So if you decide you hate it, you can cancel. And if you love it, you stay with me forever. On a serious note, you guys, I'm really excited to build a community to give you guys the extra content that I'm not posting anywhere else, and for you guys to have a chance to really support my channel. But don't worry, you guys, the YouTube content is not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. It's not slowing down. It's staying the same. Just every time there is a full-length video on YouTube, there will also be a continuing video on my Patreon. I'm going to put the link in the description of this video. It's also in my bio. But enough of that nonsense. Let's freaking get into it. Let's go. But wait. Subscribe, bitch. A story nobody believes. This happened like 15 years ago. It was school holidays, and my friend, we'll call her Sarah, and I were extremely bored and just wanted to chill. This summertime, we lived in a small town called Bronzefels in Texas. Everything kind of spread out. Anyways, it was around midnight and we didn't know where to go. So we decided to go to the park. It's a little big. We were there for an hour or so. Nothing unusual, until we both saw someone or something crouched on a table. First off, a little weird someone else being in the same park at this time. But what's creepy as fuck is that this person was crouching on top of a fucking table. He wasn't even sitting on the bench. What really fucked me up was, because I didn't look away, I kept looking closer. I noticed that there were wings. The body was completely human, but had fucking wings. The part that I'll never forget. All of a sudden, the most blood-curdling scream, like a woman being stabbed to death, but it sounded like a woman, but unhuman at the same time. Like a scream that a normal person doesn't do, but a scream animals can't even make. Almost like the screams in a movie that a demon or something makes. Then it just stands up, and this fuck has to be 8 feet tall, minimum. We both ran as fast as we could. Have you ever ran to your lungs' max capacity? I ran until I had no air left in my lungs, and then kept running until I had to slow down because I was coughing too much. We knocked on people's doors and kept getting threatened that they have guns and will shoot if we don't leave. We were literally locked outside with this thing. I kept looking into the sky, because this reminded me of Jeepers Creepers the movie. After maybe 20 minutes, the police show up, of course. They think we're on drugs, but wanted to let us go. I walked the rest because I lived a few blocks away. The police drove my friend home. There was a white cop and a Mexican cop. When the Mexican cop heard the story, he pretended like it's just made up. But the look on his face said he knows something about this thing that nobody knows. I have PTSD now and hate going outside alone at night, especially near parks or the woods. Weird people don't really scare cops. Animals don't really scare cops. But you know, it was something much worse if a cop lies and can't keep a straight face because of fear. Like I said, it's a story that happened and I remember clear as day, but a story nobody believes. Tried making it as short as possible. I can see how somebody can see this is unbelievable. I mean, you said they had wings. But let's be fair. We have seen the craziest shit in the woods. Not us, but in these stories. People see crazy stuff. skinwalkers, whatever the case may be. There's some weird shit that goes on. I'm not calling her a liar. I mean, if we're being completely honest here, if one of my friends came to me with this story, I would probably start laughing hysterically. Be like, girl, get a grip. Me and you both know you didn't see somebody with wings. But you know what? It's naive to think there ain't crazy shit out there like that to begin with. Let's go to the comments. Commenter, with all that I've seen, I believe you 100%. People, unless it happens to them, they don't believe it. Be careful out there. 100%. I know I would have to see this with my own eyes to believe what we just read. I 100% would have to see it to believe it. But I mean, there's crazy shit out there. Let's be real. Commenter, the Mexicans have the chupacabra and is a popular legend within the culture, and there's been talk of it in the States close to the border, especially among the Mexican community. I remember when it was popular in the 90s. The chupacabra originated in Puerto Rico, not Mexico. Commenter, do you still keep in touch with Sarah? Wonder what she remembers all these years later. OP responded, no, I was 16, I think. She was 14. And police said, we need to take her. It doesn't look good with you being around a younger girl. What the fuck? I was 2 years older and we were both under 18. It'd be weird if I was over 18, but that was a bit wow to hear. After that, we didn't talk much. Her parents didn't let her around any boys. So I was like, wow, okay, guess we'll stop talking then. Okay, this is... I'm starting to think that OP may be a fibber, not a truther. Now I'm a little skeptical. Commenter, some don't want to believe because 1, they think you're crazy, or 2, know what's going on. You know what? I'm not here to tell you whether what you saw was real or not, but I will say that we do romanticize things as we get older from things from our past. I'm not downplaying or negating what you truly think you saw because fear stays with us. It really does. You don't really forget fear. But I don't know. You sound like a little fibber do. But let's go to another one. We're gonna have to ad-lib a little bit. 2 men were watching my house from a car. Trust your gut. About a week ago, I came across a video on TikTok that said, always trust your gut. And every time you leave the house, lock the door and look around you. I didn't think much at the time, but for some reason, it stuck with me. A few days later, I was leaving my house to meet up with some friends. I was home alone. I locked the front door, like always, and suddenly, that video came back to my mind. Something told me, just look around. I looked around the front. Nothing. Everything seemed normal, but I had this weird gut feeling, so I decided to check the back of the house, too. That's when I saw it. A car parked about 30 to 50 meters away, facing directly to my house. 2 men sitting inside. They weren't talking. They weren't on their phones. They were just watching. My heart dropped. I reached for my phone to take a picture, and as soon as I did, they started the car and sped off. It wasn't random. They weren't lost or waiting for someone. They were watching my house, watching me, and they didn't want to be caught. What makes this creepier is the 6 days before this happened, I was in a car accident. Not major, but bad enough. The strange part, for days before that crash, I had this nagging feeling something was going to happen. Like a little voice telling me, slow down, drive safe. I ignored it and ended up flipping my car. I didn't ignore the feeling this time, and maybe that saved me from something worse. Now, every time I walk home alone or lock up the house, I get that same feeling again. Like something's off, like someone's still watching, waiting for me to drop my guard again. To the men in that car, whoever you are, let's not meet. For one, this is not Let's Not Meet. This is True Stories. But I'll let it slide. Now, this saying that she mimicked from a TikTok video, the every time you leave the house, lock the doors and look around you, is a very, very solid form of advice. Y'all already know my paranoid ass always, always. I always get this feeling when I'm leaving my house by myself when I go to lock the door. I always get this feeling like, what if somebody just comes out from behind my garage or just comes running full speed from somewhere? Because, you see these videos and these people that want to break in your house or harm you, they do this thing where when you're opening your door or you are going to lock your door, like if you're opening the door to go inside your house, like unlocking it, doing the whole business, they will come full freaking speed, like to try and catch you before you lock that door, to push your ass back in the house. And that is a genuine fear of mine. So I am constantly, I'll probably look back 10, 15 times while I'm locking the door. Like, now I have cameras, but that's not going to deter anybody. You should always be checking your surroundings. And you guys watch my videos know that's in every single public place. You need to be checking your surroundings to be safe. And I know this sounds dramatic. I don't really care because you ain't gonna catch me slipping. You ain't. And you know what? Maybe that'll be my downfall. Maybe God's gonna make an example and be like, we did catch you slipping. We did catch you slipping, and look at you. Look at where you are right now. Let's not give myself bad juju, okay? I'm sorry I said that. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I take it back. Let's read the comments. Commenter, you need to put up cameras ASAP and maybe have a male friend stay with you for a week or two. I'm seriously worried about you now. Yeah, 100%. You need to have somebody with you. If you saw this, weird. Commenter, she doesn't need a man. She needs a... how about maybe both? Maybe she doesn't know how to use a pew pew, and you should not have one if you do not know how to use it, because you are going to hurt yourself. Okay? Okay. So maybe she needs both. Or a trained woman to come over. Me. She needs me. I'm just kidding, you guys. Commenter, don't let your guard down. They could be planning anything. And now that they have your address, they probably are watching. They had her address the whole time. That's why they were there. I agree with the other commenter. Set up cameras, try to get a license plate or a clear picture of their face maybe. It's also best to avoid being alone. Commenter, OP, did you take a picture of the car? Maybe they got the plate in the photo. OP responded, they later came back like 5 to 6 times. They were driving around my house and my friend came just in time. We rushed them and damaged the car since they never came back. Sometimes these people rebuttal and I'm like, okay, so this story may be bogus. What do you mean? You and your friend rushed the car and damaged it and you didn't get a picture? A picture is way more important than you bombarding this person. Now, if this story is real, they're just gonna be sneakier. You just made it so... You just made it so they are going to be sneakier. This is like, oh man, dang it, OP. Should have just kept the comments to yourself. Now I am very... OP responded, guys, thanks, but I'm a man, not a girl. Okay, so isn't it funny how, I'm guilty of it. I know you guys are guilty of it too, because it's right here. You always assume that they're women. You guys, we gotta get better. We gotta do better. What are we doing? Oh man, I know it's programmed in us, okay? It's not any fault of our own. It's programmed. They programmed us to think women are always in danger. Let's go to another one. He wrote a fan fiction about all of our deaths. Content warning, mentions of depicted deaths and grapes. Let's not get me banned today. Alright, so buckle up, guys. There's your warning. OP gave you warning. This is my first post, and I just needed a place to finally talk about this crazy experience. I will mainly be talking about my POV, female 25, and about the star psychopath, male 26, We'll call him John. Thank you, OP, for putting your name and age. Nobody seems to do so, and we make assumptions. In high school, I had one of those stereotypical crazy groups that low-key ruin your life. One of those people was John. I met him initially in JROTC, which was hell by itself. But John was something else. He immediately gave me all those red flags that tell you to stay away. And I tried. Unfortunately, we would be paired for different tasks in the class, and during those times, John would tell me all sorts of things. It would range from wild stories about gangs he was in, his dad getting murdered, his grandma getting hit by a bus, etc. Not that those things don't happen, but his facts would constantly change in his stories, and he would be laughing the whole time. The more violent, the more hilarious it was to him. I just tried to change the subject, put some spaces between us, and hoped to never see him again. I had that gut feeling he was lying, and even if it was just for attention, he was making me uncomfortable. Lo and behold, I wouldn't have any space from this guy, because after a few days, when I went to meet my friend group at lunch, he was there. I was caught off guard, finding out that he had become friendly with a couple people in the group, and I was stuck with him, not wanting to leave my friends and not having enough reason to really put up a fight about him being there. I just sucked it up and moved on. Over the course of this guy hanging out with us, he became more touchy, more verbal about his physical abilities, like, oh, people are intimidated because I could the shit out of them, etc. I didn't like his vibe, and so I would constantly call him out on lies that wouldn't add up, laugh at his stupid toxic masculinity comments, and so on. It would lead to arguments where he would separately message me saying shit like, not a lot of people can talk back to me, I'm impressed. That would make me want to puke with how entitled he was. I want to puke right now. Unfortunately, it just got worse. John became closer to one of my girlfriends, and they would disappear at events, leading her parents to call us asking where she was, and freaking us out. And then John secretly led one of my guy friends on romantically, telling him that he was gay, and then tried to make others think my friend was crazy, because he would never be with a man. It broke both of my friends with how John would play with their feelings and safety. Then one friend confessed to me that John was sleeping in his car in my friend's driveway multiple nights without telling him, and that my friend was scared to sleep some nights because she was nervous that John would hurt her. I was done with it and pushed harder about John leaving the group because he was becoming a problem. That's when one of the girls in the group, we'll call her Allie, found out about his Wattpad book. John had written a full novel, I think it's called Monochrome, about our high school and our friend group. It was based on him being colorblind, which I never believed, and him being able to see monsters in our school that we couldn't. He used our real names and description, and in almost every character he would write in excruciating detail about our torture and deaths. If our characters weren't killed by the monsters, then he would be permanently deformed. One friend lost her legs, another her entire bottom jaw, all in brutal ways. I cannot even begin to describe how much thought he must have put into how painful it was. I've seen pretty bad horror movies, and what he wrote was so much worse. When we found the book, I told him to keep my name out of it, and that he was an ass for writing it. He expressed to Allie that the book was therapy for him, and that he always felt better after writing it. I was always surprised that she kept talking to him after, but I'm pretty sure she cheated with him. So I guess she was blind to it? I don't know. I felt crazy trying to prove that he's not good to be around. But it took everyone so long to realize how sick in the head he was. He started threatening people with violence. He tried to bring my friend into some woods before her dad showed up, and later I found out that he raped an intoxicated minor after graduating. I left my friend group long beforehand because he wasn't the only problem. And I realized that most of those people were not truly my friends. The group fell apart, and it took me a long time for people to move on and heal. There was so much more that happened, especially with Allie, but John was probably the scariest one. I can't find his book anymore. I'm not sure if he deleted it, or that I can't remember the name right, but if y'all find it, let me know. LOL. Let's be real. My first question. Obviously, this man is a psychopath. I know that people do like to write insane things down for therapy. Like, they say it is very, very healthy when you are mad at somebody and you want to vent, to write them the most out of pocket email or write it down on a piece of paper, something that you would never say to their face. Like, go all out, let it all out, be as mean as you possibly can. Do not send it, delete it, revisit the conversation with yourself and see how you feel. That is my only explanation for something like this. Otherwise, he is a psychopath and a danger to your health and your friend's health. I think if I read a fan fiction like this, if I read a novel like this, I would never talk to this man again. Or it's one of those things, keep your friends closer, your enemies closer, maybe stay close with him and stay in contact with him, but at a distance. You know what I mean? Don't hang out with him. Don't be alone with him, but stay on talking terms. Don't be how you were, very problematic. Now, I am one of those people who will call somebody out for being a liar. I have had a lot of compulsive lying friends. Why? I have no idea. They just do it to do it. Like this kind of stuff. For some people, I know that mentally they could not handle me calling them out, as in they would lose their freaking shit on me if I call them out. So I just let it ride. I'm like, okay, you be a liar. Go lie your freaking pants off. I don't care. But don't do it to me. Because I would just start laughing. How extra are you? That is the most exaggerated, non-believable story I've ever heard in my GD life. In my GD life. No. A lot of the time, when people are like this, they're not always insane. They may just be really bored with their life. They had a really boring life in general. Or, I don't know, they just want to spruce it up and believe this stuff. But like I've said in other videos, when you talk about something enough, you want to do it. So this kind of thing is very terrifying to me because this is one step closer to it being a reality. And I'm not saying, because I know people like to make stretches in my comments that are absolutely just, how'd you get there? So let me just clear up that I do not, because I know where this thought train is going. I do not believe that video games and movies inherently make people violent. I think that it makes a psychopath get curious and be like, oh, which, if you look at it in the bigger picture, if you have mental instability, maybe that's the case. But it's not gonna make your normal Joe Schmo go out and start harming lots of people, okay? Or being weird. Just saying. Just a saying. Let's go to the comments. Also, before we go to the comments, the fact that your friends are still like, oh, it's okay, he sleeps outside my house like 3 days a week, blah, 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 blah. They're probably all immature and don't know how to deal with this weird situation of this shitty person. Now let's get to the comments. Commenter, I knew a guy like this when I took one of my first jobs after grad school. I ultimately left the position because of him, and he quit a few months later because he was fleeing an assault charge from a girl in his hometown. Multiple of my members, we were co-supervisors, privately told me that they were scared of him, but wouldn't speak up in a group setting. The guy told me once that he was on drugs and wanted to walk up to a guy in a parking lot and him, and I generally believed him. He would tell me multiple stories about how he imagined violently our members and then advocate that our team take a backwoods assignment. Trying to be vague because this guy is still one of my worst nightmares in actual living form. I'm glad you got away from John. They're all too common in this world. I agree. And I'm glad that this commenter didn't go do some crazy excursion either. Oh, see, when people give you the heebie-jeebies, you need to listen to it. I don't care if they've done nothing wrong. I don't care if they have never said anything sideways. No, if somebody gives you the heebie-jeebies, you need to get to stepping. Keep them at a distance, okay? If you're scared to say something, leave it at that. Zip it, keep a distance. Because, no. Let's go to another one. Let's go! My uncle encountered something I can't explain. So I'm going to keep anonymous for me and my family's sake. I'm quite the outdoorsy person. So is my family. I go on family camping trips every summer. One time, my uncle told us this one at a campfire. My uncle is a very credible person and trusted across his community. I will be telling the story from his perspective. I am an experienced hiker and outdoorsman, and I frequently visit trails and parks sometimes just to get my mind off things. I am a teacher, so I have winter, summer, and spring off. This occurred during winter break. It had snowed heavily and the weather was cold, but in the magical Christmas way. I was going through a tough time in my life, although I won't get into it, so I just have something nice to do. I went out to a wooded area with my trailer, so I didn't have to do as much work. It was a pleasant surprise to see the park was void of people, clearly not wanting to be in the cold weather. Me, on the other hand, loved the snow and cold. It's just peaceful for me. I booked for 3 nights. On night 2, it was amazing. The snow was nice and full. The moon was bright. I mean, perfectly bright enough to see almost the entire forest with a gentle blue glow. I just had to go on a night walk. The trails around the area go pretty far, so I left just after sundown. The majority of the walk was uneventful. At the 2/3 mark of the trail, I heard a sound coming from the trees, a barely noticeable huff, like something had been startled. I was surprised. At the time, I thought it was another hiker. I looked in the direction of the noise, and if I were to tell you that I was so scared that I heard it ringing in my ears, it would be an understatement. I only saw a silhouette of him, freakishly tall, at least 8 foot tall, long arms going down to his knees, standing upright like a person, weirdly proportioned features, almost like what you see in Skinwalker stories, except it couldn't be one. The lines didn't match up. He stood there like he was shocked that I was there, like he'd never seen a person before. He wasn't aggressive, more curious. I looked at him like I'd never seen anything like him. We were almost parallel to each other in our reaction. He tilted his head slightly and leaned forward to get a better look. We were 20 feet away from each other, enough distance for me to at least get a head start if need be. I was still scared out of my mind, but I came to my senses enough to see that he wasn't aggressive, more curious than anything. I reached into my satchel and grabbed a piece of beef jerky and threw it at him. He took a step back and looked at it, then me, before slowly crouching down and grabbing it. He then started walking back into the dense forest. I wasted no time in sprinting to the trailer, packing everything up and booking it out of there. I didn't even care about checking out. Since then, I've never been able to go back to the park without thinking about him. Who was he, if he was real, or a figment of my tired imagination? When I first heard my uncle tell the story, it was fascinating to me. But this one is probably the only one I ever believed. Maybe it was Bigfoot. I'm just kidding. It does sound like a skinwalker, even though you are denying that. It might be a skinwalker. Because, they say they have those. They're really, really tall and they're lanky. And they transform. If you believe in skinwalkers and have seen stories on skinwalkers, they'll turn into your dog. They'll turn into your mom, your friend. They'll even mimic their voice. So, could be really anything. Scary. The woods are always a scary, scary place. Reading these stories makes me never want to go camping. I will. Don't get me wrong, but I'll be shaking in my boots the whole time. I'm like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? Maybe I can tell my own story and something bad's gonna happen. Let's go to the comments. Commenter. Maybe it's the white woman in me, but I would have been like, hey, it's okay. Come here. It's alright. I won't hurt you. Just before it picks up a boulder and drops it on me. Same. I think it wants some pets, actually. I think it really just needs some pets and some lovins. If it gets to know me, it won't hurt me. Commenter, what do you mean by my uncle was encountered something? Commenter, also, was it possibly Bigfoot? That's what I said. But he didn't mention that it was furry. And my guy, come on. My uncle was encountered something. He obviously did a typo. Read the room. Boo. OP responded, something I left out. He didn't have hair like a mammal. Instead, he had bare skin, from what my uncle could tell me from the silhouette. My guy, that was a skinwalker, if I've ever heard it. Okay? He's like, with this little lanky ass. They're scary. Scary, scary business. Okay, let's go to another one. Montross Cemetery. This is true scary certified, you guys. We have a gold star on this bitch. Let's go. My friends and I used to have a paranormal research group. We had heard stories of an old abandoned graveyard. It was on a hill overlooking the Petey River in Mechanicsville, South Carolina. It had been owned by a church that later burned down and was relocated. Most of the graves were sunken, and most of the tombstones were broken or gone outright. They placed a huge group marker and the names of the known burials on it. The stories were said that it was haunted by the spirit of a young child in antebellum clothes and a black shadow with red eyes tied to a story about a man who brought his victims to the graveyard because it was so remote to them. We were excited to be there. When we arrived, the first thing we noticed, it was pitch black there. It was so dark you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. My friend's girlfriend refused to leave the car. Understandably. It was because the graveyard was so grown over with forest that it blocked all stars and moonlight. Our flashlights didn't even make a dent. It was a hot, muggy night, but when you entered the graveyard, the whole thing was in a massive cold spot. My friend and I got goosebumps from the cold and fear. The temp was 85 degrees, but inside our thermometers read 62. There was a feeling of dread around the place, like something didn't want us there. My friend said he could feel the place's anger, an anger that makes sense you consider all the vandalism. Then when our group entered, the air felt thick, like it was resisting you and pushing you back. It was harder and harder to walk the further you went in. Someone compared it to walking on marshmallows too, as the ground seemed to grip our feet as we tried to proceed. Finally, there was a sound like something rushing towards us, and we saw what looked like a black shadow with red eyes moving towards us. We all froze up at first. Then, as two shadows seemed to grow in size, radiating a dark anger, we ran out of there. Then it was like the trees themselves were against, as if it felt like they closed in and gripped at our clothes, holding on as we tried to leave. We finally made it out, and when we went to leave, one of our car's batteries was dead. Though it was only months old, like something had drained it. We called a local tow truck, but the driver refused to go until morning because he said it was evil and haunted at night. We got pictures with so many orbs and shadows. One picture even showed moss that looked like a man shaped like he was hanging from a tree. We also got EVPs full of what sounds like angry whispers. It was the scariest paranormal investigation I had ever been on. We never did go back. Y'all are braver than me, cause nah. Nope. This is the start of a scary movie. No, thank you. That shit's for the birds. We ain't doing none of that. No, sirree, Bob. Nope. And the tow truck driver? See, he's got a head on his shoulder, unlike you buffoons. I get it, though. That was your job. You know, you guys were paranormal researchers, which kudos, because no, not for me. But there is no real comments on here, so let's go to another one. Don't ever let your guard down, even when people sound nice. This happened back when I was sleeping over with my friends around 11. The friends' parents were gone for a few hours, so it was just us. We were able to order a pizza thanks to his mom. We ordered the pizza and waited. This was around when we knew about creepy people, and we always were on high alert. My friend was watching the window, as I was next to him, not paying attention. When he said, "The pizza's here," I went over to the door because he said, "Hold on." The pizza guy was weird looking, maybe in his mid-40s, and very tired looking. We opened the door, greeted him. My friend said he needed to get the money real quick. I was alone with the guy for a second. The guy was honestly chill, and we had a good conversation until my idiot self said his parents weren't home. All of a sudden, it was like his mood changed. He asked me weird questions I don't feel comfortable saying here. And then he said, "Hey, mind taking the pizza?" in a weird tone. Normally, I would say yes, but I had a feeling not to. When he started getting closer and somewhat barely touching my arm, I was normally a strongish kid, and in a quick moment, I pushed him and slammed the door. This is where my friend came over and asked what happened while I locked the door. The pizza guy started banging on the door, yelling very inappropriate stuff at us. We quickly grabbed a phone and began dialing 111 when he suddenly left. Fortunately, my friend's parents got home and made sure we were all right. We didn't call 911 from, I guess, fear. And again, our idiot self thought it wasn't important now. That night, I couldn't sleep and still thinking about what could have happened. Apparently, the next day, the neighbors waved him off. They were very tough, one would say. I'm just glad looking back, I didn't take the pizza, nor did I hesitate to close the door. I guess moral of the story, listen to your gut and make sure you aren't dumb like me. You guys, if anything happens like this, please call the place you ordered the pizza and report his ass. Get a name, get information, get something. I know you probably can't get a name. Maybe. Okay, first, report it to the pizza place. Ask them, what the actual F is this? 2, try get a corporate number and do the same. Who knows what this pizza guy is doing at any of these deliveries? No. You know, see, deliveries like this freak me out. But good on you, OP, for trusting your instincts and just pushing him and locking the door. Who knows what would have happened? He probably got in trouble because he didn't deliver the pizza, but it's a lot better than risking your safety. I hope you didn't call back the pizza place and be like, I need another pizza. Hopefully you got a refund. Anyways, let's go to another one. There's no comments. A house on a graveyard, a village of shadows, my real nightmare. Dun dun dun. Since my last post got so much attention, I figured it's time to share more. Every time we visited my grandparents' house, strange things would happen. Things that couldn't be explained. Paranormal things. For example, people who aren't really people. There's a room across from the kitchen. The floor connecting the room, it's just old. Cracked concrete. That room was used for sleeping, sitting, even eating. But something was off about it. At night, when everyone was asleep, an old woman would appear, sitting in the chair facing the TV. She never moved, never spoke. I saw her myself when I was a child. Then there were these other entities. We never knew their intentions. One woman had rope-like hair and usually appeared behind the rooms. Another old woman stayed near the bathroom, always sitting in a decaying chair. We never understood why they were there or what they wanted. The TV used to act strange too. We thought it was broken. One time we were outside in that open cement area, kind of like a living room, and we heard the TV volume rise and fall. My mom said she saw a child walk in from behind the room next to her. He played with the TV knobs, then vanished. My aunts once finished cleaning the kitchen and stepped outside. Suddenly, a strange human-like figure, but not quite a human, descended from the tree, leaning over the kitchen wall. Its skin was dark, and it walked with a limp. It clawed through the closed window, stayed for a few seconds, and then disappeared. Kitchen was a mess, and after that, snakes used to appear often. So did geckos and the cats. Some of them were just wrong. One of the strangest cats was a black one with white patches. They say it was an old spirit. It didn't flinch when approached, didn't meow, or would only eat things like puffed corn and juice, human food. It even used the toilet like a person. Many of the cats there did. One cat never left my grandparents' bedroom, and the voices, they would literally call your name. One time when my mom was younger, around 4 a.m., she went to wake up a relative who used to drive students to school. She knocked on the back door and suddenly heard a woman's voice. "What do you want? People are sleeping." She ran back to the house in terror. To this day, when she tells the story, she still stutters. These entities, when angered, they throw small stones, a warning, a sign you should leave. And on top of all this, we kept hearing warnings from others in the village that they practiced witchcraft, that they could hurt people. Eventually, we learned the truth. My grandmother, she was one of them. So was her eldest son. It was passed down, not for protection, not for healing, only for harm. They don't do this magic with wands or words. It's not fantasy. It's blood. Real blood and sacrifices. They're like a darker version of Harry Potter. Real, cruel, and terrifying. The people there hurt each other with no remorse, using the worst kind of evil. Witchcraft and black magic. They've harmed their own, my grandfather, my uncle, and even now, they're still living there. The animals are vanished. Fewer dogs, fewer livestock, and the air, it feels heavier. Something dark lingers. We haven't visited in about 8 years. We're religious, and we have our own ways to protect ourselves from evil. So we stay far away now. We only found out the truth about my grandmother 2 years ago. But those strange entities, where did they come from? And what do they want? No one deserves to be dragged into darkness because of someone else's greed. Some victims have faces we know. Others have names never spoken. If you made it this far, say a prayer for the dead to rest in peace and for the living to be shielded from every unseen evil. This sounds like this sounds like what my mom grew up in. You guys have heard me, if you watch my channel, in a previous episode of me talking about how my mom had I think it was an aunt who did witchcraft in her attic, and her house was severely haunted growing up. Would call their names, would trip them, do all sorts of crazy shit. This is why I would never mess with any kind of spiritual witchcraft type of thing, because you never know what you're summoning. You never know what you're truly doing, because you can read every book, you can read every nook and cranny of what it could be, what it's doing. Doesn't mean it's accurate. You have no idea what you are doing when it comes to summoning other realms, other things that we cannot see with our own eyes. Yeah, no thank you. I am so good on that. I cannot imagine seeing a ghost. I mean, hearing it is one thing, but seeing it, oh, I'd shit my pants. Yikes. Let's go to the comment. Let's go to the comment. There's only one. Commenter, prayer sent, and thanks for including the link and sharing your experience. It sounds very traumatic and also like you chose not to follow in the family tradition. Thank you for that. There's plenty of evil being perpetrated in this world every day, and I'm happy you decided to shine light into that darkness. OP responded, thank you so much for your kind words and prayers. It truly means a lot. I've never seen darkness to know I never want to be a part of it. I just hope that by sharing, others feel less alone or more aware. Your support gives me strength. I do not like messing with dark entities whatsoever. Let's go to another one. When I worked in the morgue, you know, there's always weird things that would happen here and there. It was like you'd hear weird things, you'd see weird things, and there was some bodies that you just had this weird feeling about. They just gave you goosebumps when you looked at them. You know, I always had this general fear, and I would say it's irrational, but it's not irrational, because I've heard stories of people waking up pre-autopsy, like about to get the Y incision, and they're like, hello there, which is insane to me. Obviously, that has never happened when I was working there, or you guys would have heard this story by now. Maybe not. I don't know. It probably would be very traumatizing, and I probably would have quit on the spot. I probably would have had a reflex and punched him in the face out of absolute diabolical fear. But I will say this. When I was working in the morgue, you know, we were starting out our day. Everything was good. We had the bodies up. We had our assignments. We were doing our thing. And so I was going to do my Y incision. And like I said, you hear things because let's be real. We're working in a morgue. We have thousands of bodies a year. You're gonna have weird shit going on, okay? So I'm doing my Y incision, you know, I'm going down the shoulder, down to the belly. I go to this shoulder. I'll never forget this because it scared the heebie-jeebies out of me. I go to this shoulder, okay? And I'm gliding my blade down the chest, and all of a sudden there's this blood curdling scream. And let me preference the layout. I am in this station where there is a door that goes out into like our bathrooms, our locker rooms, where our computer stuff is, where we release bodies, whatever. So I am right next to a door where there's a hallway with the bathrooms, etc. So I'm gliding my blade from the shoulder down through the chest, and I hear this blood curdling scream. We all hear it. It's not just me. And we have music playing, okay, when we're doing these autopsies. But it was right in the transition of a song. It was perfectly timed. Y'all can call me a liar on this. I don't give a shit. Everybody in the morgue heard it. We hear the blood-curdling scream, and I look up. My brain is trying to pinpoint where the fuck this just came from. And so we all kind of turn towards the door, to where this door is that I'm right next to. And it came from our office, is what we're all assuming. And we all look at each other. I was like, I know you've heard that. I know you guys heard that. And of course, somebody cracks a joke and he's like, "You're tripping. I didn't hear nothing." I can know you guys heard that. And then was like, no. We all kind of had a general census that we heard it. And then we're like, okay, well, whatever. It's what, and with these kind of things, you kind of pause for a second and you get really freaked out because it's a very common thing. And you're like, okay, anyways. And you just get back to work. But initially, my thought in my soul was like, this motherfucker just woke up. They did not wake up. And I will say that was the most chilling scream. And the fact it was from the other room, walls away, and we all were like, what the fuck? It was so scary. It gives me chills thinking about it. And if it would have happened on a Saturday, it would have been so much scarier because, as I've mentioned it before, on Saturdays it was like a skeleton crew. It was like 2 doctors and 2 autopsy techs. Sometimes it was 1 doctor and 2 techs. And we do it in the dark. And it's just the only thing we have lit is our station. So the surrounding area is all kind of dim. So it's a little more spookadooka, But man, it was so scary. It scared the freaking shit out of me. Anyways, let's go to another one. The camera sees what the eyes don't. Another spooky story from the hospital. During my shift, I often give the hospital operator their breaks because they have access to the cameras. Kind of an eyes in the sky situation. Last night, I was doing my routine break for them, just kind of letting my eyes wander across the plethora of small squares that shows the active floors, when I saw something odd. A pitch black figure walked left to right across one of the squares. Now, this particular area and view of this certain camera is in the ICU junction, a T intersection. On the left is the ICU entrance. On the left is the ICU entrance. On the right is the private elevator that goes between the first floor, the ground floor, and the basement where the morgue is. At first, I wasn't too concerned. The lights dimmed during the night. Maybe it's very shadowy there. Then, an ICU staff I'd consider a friend walked into view. Shadowy, but not black. He never looked up from his phone, and he's the kind of staff who's aware of everything around him. Kind of security's unofficial backup. So if he didn't react, what did I see? The elevator doors never opened. Badge reel only access. If it were a discharged patient, visitor, they would have come back into view and gone down the hall toward either the main elevator or the main entrance. Sometimes cameras are better at seeing things than human eyes are, and I wish I hadn't seen it. It's kind of crazy that they say that cameras pick up paranormal activity and things that we actually can't see. I'm really curious to know the science behind that. They have so much footage of seeing weird figures, weird ghosts, just black figures in general. I just don't really know what the camera would see that we couldn't, because it's really just a mirror. I don't know if you guys ever had to make those cameras in art class in school, but we did, and it was really just paper and I think it was a mirror. I might be wrong on that. But it wasn't anything special. You couldn't move it all. Like, you had to sit there for like 5 minutes to take the picture, but I just don't understand it. I don't understand the mechanism behind it. Let's go to the comments. Commodore, loved reading this. Keep up the good work, dog. Commodore, I already knew who wrote the story just upon reading the word hospital. Thank you for sharing with us as always. OP responded, you're very welcome. I'm so glad so many people are enjoying what I go through. Okay, so this is a popular guy. All right, you guys, don't forget, we have a ton of more stories over on my Patreon. The link is in the description. I mean, don't you guys want to know why the guy thinks his grandpa is a shapeshifter? Come on. Anyways, you guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, whatever you want to do. It's all up to you.